550 KTRS.
Hey, 943. Kathy Helbig is nice enough to spend a couple minutes with us each week. She, of course, is the real estate expert. You see her on KSDK Channel 5. 17 years in the business, though she looks 22. Buyer, seller, Kathy Helbig, the Helbig Group. Good morning, Kathy Helbig.
Good morning. How are you today?
Great. I'm going to ask you this question because I do this all the time, and I want to know if it's a good idea or not.
Sure.
I love to look at houses even though I'm not necessarily looking to buy a house anymore. And I take out my little phone and my little Zillow app, and I'll start checking out the prices and that. Mm-hmm. How accurate and how good of an idea is that?
Well, it's good and bad. So real estate changed back in 1999 when Realtor.com came on the scene. And suddenly, to find property, you didn't have to go to a real estate agent anymore. You could search for yourself. So that's a good thing.
Right.
And then consumers feel a little bit more empowered because they're able to do all their due diligence before they get with a realtor. They feel like they've searched out the values themselves. The bad side is the accuracy. So you kind of touched on that when in that question. The accuracy, number one, is as far as property valuations is all over the board. And unfortunately, consumers do start a lot of times with Zillow, and then they get a number stuck in their head.
Right.
So we call it big data. The big data is a good thing as far as getting you started and starting to get a feel for the communities and property values on a scale around you. But the job of the realtor is to interpret that big data for you so that you're not missing out on something that might really be a decent deal or the right fit for you because you're stuck on some algorithm that figured out what the price of this house was and they didn't factor in all the cool features that it has.
It's a really interesting point. It's almost like property tax assessments.
Correct.
They're so wildly from the same block even.
Right.
But how accurate are they?
Right. So the algorithms, what they're doing is they're taking the bird's eye view of all the properties around that area. So it could be, $1 million subdivision next to a $200,000 subdivision, and that skews the data. So you can have, a Whitaker home that is so many dollars per square foot, and then you can have a Cross home that is a lot more dollar per square foot because it has the scale of the features and the upgrades and the finishes that they use is completely different. Then on top of it, the accuracy is not always right. They only are showing about 80% of the properties for sale out there on Zillow and Trulia and those type of websites. So a lot of people don't know that. So they start doing all of this research themselves, and then they start talking to us, and they'll go, what about this house? And what about that house? And they start thinking that we're holding things back.
Right.
But number one, half the stuff they're not seeing because it doesn't show up for 7 to 9 days sometimes once it's listed on those websites. And then the things that are for sale, they don't take off right away. So they are finding properties that aren't truly out there anymore and then calling us and going, I want to see this, I want to see that. And the data is just...
And you're saying, sorry, that's been long sold.
Right,
yeah.
Right. And then they question us at first, because they think we're holding something back on them.
Right. So it's a fun tool to play around with as a guideline, but no,
right.
It's not the most accurate information possible.
It's a good thing to go on. They have great lifestyle pieces and kind of figure out the communities and get a feel for the area. But then when you start getting serious, the realtors have the real data. The MLS feeds are updated every few minutes. So when we take a new property and put it on, you're going to get that information within 15 minutes versus the average is 7 to 9 day lag time on some of the properties.
One of the many reasons why Kathy Helbig is our girl. KathyHelbig.com, our woman, our lady, I should say.
Whatever.
KathyHelbig.com, that's the website to find out more. 17 years in the business, buying, selling, co-owner of Keller Williams Realty West, right there on downtown Cotterville, but you work all over. St. Charles County, St. Louis County.
Yes, sir.
St. Louis
Both
City.
sides of the bridge.
Buyers, sellers, your team of how many agents do you have working with you?
I have 8 on my team, and I have 170 in our office.
Holy mackerel. KathyHelbig.com is the website. Also, What the Helbig on Facebook, right?
Yes, sir.
Have a good week.
Thanks.
947, Big 550, KT.